within us. No, they're implanting bugs, more germs, radiation, and chemicals in your body than than anything else. The food that we've eaten is a lie. Therefore, we believe the lie. That's how biology precedes psychology. That's how we've got screwed up.
Well,
We've been eating the wrong food.
you know, when I
That's all I
started
can
the
say.
Free American, when I started the Free American almost 20 years ago, back in 1994, there was a gentleman out uh, that did a tape called "Dead Doctors Don't Lie," and he
Yep.
told us then, 20 years ago, that if we didn't have the food that had, if we weren't getting the right minerals, we were going to be sick. We weren't going to be healthy.
Yeah. Right, and all those minerals were gotten through the eating on the farm. When you eat farm food, you're not totally sterilized. There's going to be maybe a little dirt in there, or a little minerals from the soil that you pick in the carrots, and you don't clean it 100% properly. You're picking up minerals that are into the vegetables and into the animals that are on the land, not from a factory where they're starting making chemicals that taste like sugar or sweet or sour or salty, or that taste something that a human being can relate to. It's so insane. It's like Frankensteinian, where these food factories are creating foods to fool us so that they can make more money. I mean, this is so insane to me. It's just like, what are these people doing? Why are they trying to kill us?
Well, they are. They
They're
are. I
trying to,
mean,
yeah, unknowingly.
this again. This is stuff that I'm talking about in this article that I'm
Yes,
laying
sir.
out right now. You know, I said the last Homeland Security report. They are going after the self-sufficient family farms. They just did it in Arlington, Texas. There's one little group of people up there that were doing the Garden of Eden, and they were growing their own food and feeding their neighbors and feeding everybody around them. And the jackboot thugs
Mm-hmm.
came in to stomp on their tomatoes. It's
Right. Yeah.
now these attacks come from the bankers who fund both sides of every war, like a canary in a coal mine. I felt
Mm-hmm.
the full force of these attacks first. Eventually, reporting
Yeah.
on corrupt politicians, the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about, and the conspiracy that Kennedy warned us about right before the bankers had him killed for for issuing Executive Order 11110. It became
Yeah.
tiresome and
Yeah.
depressing. So much bad news and little to report on in the way of positive resistance or solutions. I attempted to work within the
Yeah.
system, and I worked with the first Republican to sign up for the presidential race in 1996. You probably never heard of Charles Collins, because every camera at every caucus was turned off and pointed at the ground when he got up to tell you we could close the Federal Reserve and print our own debt-free money. Charles died, by the way, folks.
Yeah.
Let me make this announcement.
Yeah.
Charles Collins died on September 16th, 2002. And even in death, the
Huh.
government is still harassing his family and won't allow them to settle his estate. In
Yeah.
June 4th, 1963, the little unknown attempt was made to strip the Federal Reserve of its power to loan money to the government at interest. On that day,
Uh-huh.
President John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110 that returned to the U.S. government the power to issue currency without going through the Federal Reserve. Mr. Kennedy's order gave the
Yeah.
Treasury the power to issue silver certificates against any silver bullion, silver, or standard silver dollars in the Treasury. That meant every ounce of silver in the U.S. vault, for every ounce of silver in the U.S. vault, the government could introduce new money into circulation. In all, Kennedy brought nearly
Yeah.
$4.3 billion in U.S. notes into circulation. The ramifications of this bill are enormous. I still carry a well-worn $5 bill that proclaims proudly to be a United States note issued in 1963 with a red seal, given to me by Charles Collins when I worked with him on his presidential campaign in 1996. So with the stroke of the pen,
that's great. That's great.
Mr. Kennedy was on his way to putting the Federal Reserve Bank of New York out of business. If enough of these silver certificates had come into circulation, they would have eliminated the demand for Federal Reserve notes. This is because the silver certificates are backed by silver and the Federal Reserve notes are not backed by anything. Executive Order 11110 could have prevented the national debt from reaching its current level because it would have given the government the ability to repay its debt without going to the Federal Reserve and being charged interest in order to create the money. Executive Order 11110 gave U.S. the ability to create its own money backed by silver. After Mr. Kennedy was assassinated, just 5 months later, no more silver certificates were issued. The executive order was never repealed by any U.S. president through an executive order and is still valid. So why has no president utilized it? Virtually all of the nearly $6 trillion in debt has been created since 1963. And if a U.S. president had utilized Executive Order 11110, the debt would have been nowhere near the current level. Perhaps the assassination of JFK was a warning to future presidents who would think of to eliminate the U.S. debt by eliminating the Federal Reserve control over the creation of money. Mr. Kennedy challenged the government of money by challenging the two most successful vehicles that have ever been used to drive up debt: war and the creation of money by a privately owned bank. His efforts to have all the troops out of Vietnam by 1965 and Executive Order 11110 would have severely cut into the profits and control of the New York banking establishment. Now, the point behind this little history lesson is that nothing is going to be solved through elections, even if the elections and the computers that count the votes weren't controlled and we could actually know who was running for the right reason. That's almost an impossibility as long as the bankers and the media companies they have financed and control only tell us about the candidates that are financed by and approved by the same people lurking behind the scenes and pulling all the right strings. The first act of President Johnson was to recall the money Kennedy issued. His next moves as president involved the killing of 58,000 of my brothers in arms, along with more than 1 million Vietnamese who were never a threat to the United States. And those figures are misleading. More Vietnam vets committed suicide after they got home than they were killed in Vietnam. Many more died from Agent Orange sprayed on them and the farmers in Vietnam by Monsanto. How many MIAs and POWs were never accounted for?
No, that's one. You see, when you have the realization of what you just said in the last 5 or 10 minutes, then an individuals and especially Vietnam veterans or just veterans themselves need to just start over again. They need to go. They need to find Noah West's super homes, and they need to find those that situation where Noah's creating, so that they can live their peaceful life that they know is out there without the stress of the debt-based monetary system on them. When the money is issued for the building of those communities, then the money is continually being in circulation, and it's not sucked out of the system by interest or the greedy bankers. So you eliminate the bankers, you issue the money by the people, for the people, and with the people for the construction of what they want. And we all know as human beings, we want freedom from oppression. We want freedom to be creative. We want freedom to do our lives as we wish, not what somebody else demands us to do. And the monetary system we have now demands that we go to work for 40 hours and demands we pay taxes under penalty of persecution or penalty of jail or fines.
That's another thing.
Eliminate the money.
That's another thing that I've tried to tell people. The whole war on drugs, or war on terror, This is all. Ayn Rand was absolutely correct when she said the government has no control over honest citizens, so they have to make criminals out of us. These taxes and these banking
Right.
things,
Oh,
they're making criminals out of you.
yeah.
And the
Yeah, they
drug
do.
war
And
too. I'll get
that's
to the
the
drug war
strategy.
later.
You join us, become a criminal. Get into this debt-based monetary system. Use our money. Use our money, not your own money. Use our money, which is really our money, but that's a whole other paradox. So it's like use my bike, and then I'll charge you rent. Use my books, and I'll charge you rent. Use my XYZ, and I'll charge you rent. Well, that's all bullshit.
Well,
That's
that's
all
exactly what they're doing,
money-making, crazy psychology.
David. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They repossess their homes. And
Yep.
in my last issue of my magazine, and I urge you to get that, shop.freeamerican.com,
Yeah, I got it.
I tell you that they plan on becoming your landlord. You know, you don't own that, and you don't own it
Sure.
now because you got to pay taxes on it. And they don't want you to
Right.
grow food in your backyard because, whoa, you might get healthy, and then you wouldn't need a doctor.
Well, that's the problem. Our debt-based monetary system needs a constant expansion. It needs constantly to destroy soldiers, weapons, airplanes, tanks. It needs to sicken the people so that there is more sickness for people to make more money doing something. That's what I've come to in the last 7 years of my study of money, is that it's constantly growing so that you can buy more to get less. and
We don't even inflation.
The value of the dollar.
Inflation is a hidden tax.
Yeah, you know, a loaf of bread was a nickel in my dad's day, and I was paying 30 cents for cigarettes and a gallon of gasoline. Now, now look at it, and that's just the value of the cigarettes didn't go up, or the value of the gasoline didn't go up. Only the cost of the money went up. Only the interest on the money has gone up, and created more and more money. So these crazy loans that need to pay the previous debt. So it's an asinine system, and we just have to come to that conclusion. And it's easier to come to that conclusion, in my opinion, when you eat well. I keep on getting back to that because our thinking is off, and mine was too for years. I believed that all you had to do was go to work and pay your bills, and the insurance, and the mortgage, and the inflation was just part of life. Well, that's, now I've come to realize there's something wrong with the system, and I found that one word that made it a problem was usury. Money gets sucked out of the system, and it's detrimental to our psyche and our stress. And we have to go to wars over it to destroy more and more things so that we can build them again and have people have jobs that are not even beneficial to the human psyche. It's, these crazy jobs. But that's just a lesson we all have to learn somehow, I think, and then be sick and tired of it and say, I'm disgusted with this and I'm not going to take it anymore. As that guy on Network said, you open up your windows and say, I'm not going to take it anymore.
That's right. Now,
so when you get to that point,
in my magazines, going all the way back to Writers Exchange in Miami, I have advertised for and promoted Rolling Thunder in Washington, D.C. every year. To this day, I still have a difficult time walking the wall listening to names of the men that did go there and never got to come home. Was it guilt that somehow my name wasn't there, or is it frustration through my efforts publishing underground newspapers and selling peace symbols that helped stop that false flag created conflict? Another false flag operation on 9/11, 1991 was used as an excuse to kill more of our soldiers.
Yeah, it's just ignorance. We're just ignorant,
and millions,
myself included. You're brought up in the money world, most of us, had immigrant families or just poor, on the poorer side families that we grew up on, they did not teach us about money growing up. So that education on money is invaluable for the elite. They know they have to have their club of elite people doing more loans or doing more entrepreneurship or giving money to projects that make more money. It's a money-making family that's out there, or a money-making belief system that works for them. It doesn't work for everybody. The issued money would work for everybody. Debt-based money only works for the elite who have control of the money.
That's right, and 9/11 was used as an excuse to kill more of our soldiers and millions more innocent foreigners to gain control of oil and drugs. The use of depleted uranium has killed and damaged more of our troops than Agent Orange. It should be obvious to all but the most brain-dead, deluded, drugged, or programmed people that the Federal Reserve is a global criminal enterprise pitting people against people and funding both sides, and the war on drugs as well as the war on terror is part of a master plan for one world government to eliminate opposition.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly what, that Rockefeller or the Rothschild said conflict is bad. Competition is a sin. I think that Henry Rockefeller said
that was Rockefeller,
and,
yes.
And the control is the key. So they'll get the resource nations who are separated on the globe, 188 nations or how many there are, 200 or so, something like that. And they get the resources, but now they have to come to America in the last 17 years to buy up all the houses, all the mortgage-backed securities. They wanted every piece of land so that they could rent it out in the future. This is just a control freak in the psyche, and we're not going to be able to fight it. I think the best thing to do is go into the Noah's Project and support that by getting individuals, veterans especially, hooked on it, or sell them the idea, hey, you can live a life free of money, free of stress, free of poor quality food, grow your own food, tend to your own family, forget what else is going out there. Join a community of like-minded individuals who are willing to help each other in community to establish freedom and liberty throughout the next millennium.
Well,
and that's the vision you got to get.
This is exactly.
That's all I know.
This is exactly, David. Now, please just, quit breathing into the mic, and I don't need comments on every comment that I make here. So, I am recording this, so every time you breathe and go, yeah, it comes out on the recording, and I don't like that. So, just give me a moment here.
Okay.
In years past, my efforts have been to inform the Americans, and it fell mostly on deaf ears because the truth that I and past presidents tried to share was just too frightening for most people who had been rendered passive and submissive by the monster all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid. They called it television. As long as they had the illusion of normalcy and the tube to entertain and entrance, they could justify their denial. Now, thanks to the internet and a few thousand who might qualify as the remnant, the time has come to reclaim what has been stolen, embezzled, confiscated, and hidden from us. Now, while listening to this, keep in mind that the communist-affiliated propaganda agencies hiding behind the Jewish people are milking millions from Americans with fear tactics, targeting me and other patriots for promoting the militias and our Bill of Rights as an unalienable right. Now today, General Paul Valley, retired, is in the process of notifying and contacting all legal and constitutionally created militia groups across the United States to mobilize on Washington, D.C. for Operation American Spring, currently scheduled for May 16, 2004, commanded by Colonel Harry Riley, U.S. Army Intelligence, retired. And here's what they say. We are American patriots, and we are dedicated to the self-sufficient, self-reliant American off-the-grid lifestyle. Join us. The American people are definitely facing some intensely uncertain times. We have a history of being resilient and a resourceful people. However, as of the last 50 years, we've not been as resilient or as resourceful as we, the people, could be or should be. We, the administration, dedicate this group to the spirit of we, the people, and to that pioneer, self-reliant, self-sufficient mindset that made our nation the greatest nation and the greatest people in the history of Earth. To those of you who honor and regard this spirit of the American people and our heritage, we welcome you. In times of financial collapse, we will survive and we will thrive. During times of political uncertainty, we will survive and we will thrive. When we face the worst of times and difficulties that try the souls of the bravest men and women, we will survive and we will thrive. In times of the worst of local or national disasters, be they man-made or of natural origin, we will survive and will thrive. We are the American people. We are mindful of our past and our pioneering and self-reliant spirit. We are mindful of the need and the task of becoming fully and completely self-sufficient and bring that example to all Americans of who we are and all Americans should become. We are patriots. We are dedicated to the self-sufficient, self-reliant American off-the-grid lifestyle. In other words, the veterans are not our problem. They are our answer and our salvation. Both these officers reflect the growing awareness of our military and our veterans that I've discussed in this article. I felt I'd found the answer in my plan for the restoration of the self-sufficient family farm discussed in libertyvillages.org. Grow your own food and generate our own power from everything God has given us: wind, solar, magnetism, water, and gravity. And now, in a startling confirmation of my belief that God is alive and well in the 21st century and uses the internet to communicate with us, I met a man by the name of Larry Noah West, who came to many of the same conclusions and gone through many of the same trials and tribulations that I and thousands of other vets have endured. Noah went to Vietnam. Noah's an inventor, a builder, and a patriot. And his Operation Greenfire is a veterans program from top to bottom. When the first phase is completed over the next 10 years, it will mean virtually 100% post-military employment of all of our 9/11 vets in some of the nation's most challenging and high-paying careers. In addition, we are making 1 million of the most advanced homes in the world, the Greenfire Super Home, available only to our veterans and their families and our wounded warriors, with a mortgage co-signed and 100% guaranteed for life by the veteran-run nonprofit Noah's Ark Global Foundation. I'm very proud and honored to be invited to work in this project. I only hope that enough common sense still exists in America to realize that this is a reality and not the empty political promises of banker-owned politicians that gullible Americans donated $1 billion to in the last election. Your veterans, folks, fought for you and your freedoms, or so they believed. This plan, noahsark.com, will put veterans to work building structures and communities that will continue to protect you for generations. Now, this isn't a pipe dream or the result of ivory tower thinking. Over 35 years in development, it duplicates the era of the greatest generation. This post-World War II era from 1945 to 1960 gave birth to the great American middle class and decades of economic prosperity. We are challenging the new greatest generation, our 9/11 veterans, with the mission of not only matching that era but exceeding it. If the new greatest generation is successful in implementing not only the first phase but the second phase, the Operation Greenfire will be the largest peacetime project in American history, injecting some 70 to 120 trillion directly into the American economy and giving birth to a new environmentally sustainable, energy-free, economically secure American middle class.
Right.
And those are Noah's words, not mine. I added them to my article, but this is what Noah West is saying here. He says we are asking for the help of all Americans, especially the families of veterans, to help us get all of our veterans registered in this plan, especially our veterans currently deployed or recently discharged and our wounded warriors. We need 10,000 registered veteran members to meet our goal of breaking ground the first of next year on our Florida's Noah's Ark Global Village campus. When completed, this $40 million campus, built by veterans themselves, will educate and train as many as 10,000 veterans per year for lifetime careers with us.
Beautiful.
Building the finest and most advanced home in the world, the extraordinary Greenfire Super Home. And I'm devoting the last part of this article and probably the last part of this show to making you understand about this this super home. This is a different species of home. I've got pictures of it. I've got the conception of it. It's a work of art. And the thing about it is that it does exactly what we've discussed here. It grows food on the roof. It stores water in the basement. It has 3 levels. It's powered itself. It doesn't have to be hooked up to the power lines. It doesn't have to be hooked up to the septic systems. It doesn't have to have water piped into it. It makes you, if you own this home and you live in this home, you don't need the government, you don't need the power companies, you don't need the energy companies for nothing. Now, I was just talking to a neighbor about the way they have been cracking down on energy. They've killed inventors that were running their cars on water. They've they've threatened people that were building carburetors that get better than 50 miles to the gallon. And they've outlawed magnetic generators here, which is totally feasible, works, been demonstrated over and over again. You can build them and sell them in Australia, but you can't sell them here. And Noah's plan, in my last conversation with him, he was talking about Tesla electric cars, and now they have wheels that will generate the electricity needed to run an electric car from the wheel as it's turning. We don't need the gasoline. We don't need that form of control. We don't need the electricity that's being piped into us and metered, and now they're trying to put smart meters on your house. That ain't exactly going to be good for you. These super homes built by veterans, I think this will end the whole idea of homeless and unemployed veterans. And in my conversations with Noah, I mentioned my concept for teepees. Now, you lived in a teepee, so I'm really looking forward to talking to you about this. I've got pictures of teepees under the northern lights. So in the northern climates, and Noah says we can use this system while we're building these super homes, while we're building these global villages.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like. I told him, I
Yeah.
said, to me, global has a negative content. Let's call them liberty villages. You can certainly. I've got the website, and you certainly have my permission to use that term. But by doing these villages and employing the veterans are there to work, and they're there to protect you, to help protect you from these jackbooted thugs that the Homeland Security wants to send into you just in case you want line up on that Kmart parking lot to get that vaccine.
Yeah. Now we need to take the action. You're doing a great job with your article, getting in Veterans Today and in your magazine. There's got to be some kind of phone calling or letter distribution, or do we have any connection with the Veterans Administration to get this word out about Noah's Project?
I have connection. This article that I've been reading to you and sharing with you is going to go into Veterans Today. Colonel Gordon Duff, has been on my show many, many times, and this article will go up on Veterans Today, which will reach 200 to 300,000. I forget how many subscribers he's got, but this will reach all of the veterans. And I'm just warming up, guys. I'm just warming up here.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, this is what's needed. Is this realization of where we are, the problems and the solutions, not just emphasizing the problem. Because I think we're all aware now that what the problem is. More and more people are jumping on board with the problem realization, and now need some direction to go forward. So,
I think this is what we have here. This is a plan, and they may try to stop it, but I don't think they can stop it this time. I am no longer alone. As long as I was alone, they could try to kill me, they could drug me for 3 months, they could keep me from reaching people. And I told Noah, one of the things that I needed was an organization. Now we're getting that.
Yeah.
Now we're getting that. You introduced me to Noah. You made a donation, and that donation that you made is the only reason I've been able to accomplish what I've accomplished. Got a leak in the roof. I had to go get a tarp to put over the roof. You know, without the money to do that, I'd be running around with a bucket all day trying to catch a leak. You know, so I've been able to concentrate. You know, if you make a donation, folks, and you order a magazine, I've got 10. This is my 10th issue of the new Free American. If you go get those issues from shop.freeamerican.com, if enough of you do that, if as many of you do that as subscribe to my magazine back when I had a hard copy magazine, I've got the money to do anything that I need. I sold 10,000 copies of the Free American for 10 years. And I probably made a quarter off of each one. If they told me the truth about how many they sold. If they didn't hide it behind the cookbooks. You know, it's I mean, they did that. You know, what, you're carrying this magazine here? Well, we're never going to shop here again. You're advertising with this guy, don't you know he's a racist? You know, if you're a veteran, if you're an American, the Constitution really covers you can worship anything you want. You want to hug a tree? No problem. I got some tweezers here. We can get those splinters out. You know, you want to get on your hands and knees and stick your nose in the dirt and your ass up in the air. Hey, I'll try to keep the St. Bernard off of you. You know, you want to bang your head against that wailing wall? Knock yourself out. I'll watch, man. You can just beat your brains out against that wailing wall. I don't care. You're covered by our Constitution. You're covered by our First Amendment. And I'm covered by the First Amendment for telling you this. You know, it's
sure.
We have it, man. We've got you know, I had people talking about, well, we're going to start this organization. We want to do a 501c3 organization. We need to do this. We need to do. Well, you don't need a 501c3 unless you're actually making money, and you need a plan. Hey, Thomas Jefferson gave you the plan. It's called Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right, where do we go from here now? Where do we go from here?
Well, we got to get this information out now. Everything we've talked about, everything that NOAA is doing, it's up on the website. That's linked on freeamerican.com. You can go right now to freeamerican.com and see right under your name and the links to the articles that you've got about food and money and the JUBILEE Act that I think I'd like for you to talk about here for this next hour. I said there is an answer.
Okay.
The Free American conceived of this concept as the Liberty Village concept and fully endorses the Noah's Ark Project, Operation Greenfire, the mission of a lifetime. Now, right below that, and this changed since yesterday, so if you went to the site yesterday, this wasn't there. Operation Greenfire, world's strongest home, energy independent, self-sufficient, built by veterans. And that's at greenfireglobal.com site, world's strongest home. I've got pictures of the design and the everything right below that. And you know, so it's all here. I mean, you got the garden on the roof, growing non-genetically modified foods. We don't have to, and it's protected. And you got the solar panels on the roof, and you got the filtered water in the just like I mean, my house in Bingham, New Mexico, had a tank there to hold the water. You can drain water off your roof.
Yeah.
And you know, it might take you a little bit of some lawyers and a little bit of backing here if we're working as a organization, if we're working as a group here. We could take Colorado to court about them not wanting you to collect rainwater off your own damn roof. I'm sorry, you know, you want to get shot, come over and try to take my rain barrel, you know? Come on. You know, and oh, don't forget, we need to tax that air you're breathing too. That's our air. That's not yours. Oh, come on, guys.
I know it's just so funny because the greatest thing is that I was susceptible to all the scam myself. I had to get a license for this, and I had to get a license for that, and I had to do what the law said to do, and obey the law and the statutes, rather. And since I grew up in the 50s, that's what you had to do. You were trained to do that through propaganda, through your parents, through the media, and through the school system. You know, so it was difficult for me. I think it actually took me 30 years to come around to the freedom and liberty I had as an individual, and I didn't need anybody's permission when I learned I'm a self-governing human being who has all the rights necessitated by given, not so much given by the Constitution, but verbalized or written in the Constitution, the rights that I already have emphasized. And that's all I really realized, that the Constitution was just giving me just a backing, a sort of a second a verification of what I already know. So I am a individual who lives on the planet Earth, who is, quote unquote, as we said at the beginning, you know, a spiritual being in this human body that has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if I'm not bothering you or anybody else, I can do what I want here and there, and without destroying the earth. And somebody would come along and say, you're polluting the earth, or you're doing this, then that's their responsibility too. So we are all together in one mass, but we've gotten screwed up with this money system that I believe that's really detrimental, because now people won't say, hey, you're doing something bad. Take, for example, the pollution that the cars do in the air versus the cigarette smoking. You will reprimand someone for smoking now, but you're not going to reprimand anybody for driving a car. You know, or a smokestack in a factory. We don't do that because they're, quote-unquote, too powerful. But when individuals realize the power they have in and of themselves, with or without a group, then the whole world becomes more and more aware that they are sovereign individuals with liberty, freedoms, and the right to express themselves and demand, or not demand, I guess, just go and do what they need to do without bothering anybody else. So the Noah's Ark gives veterans a way to get out of the system and be healthy in living and loving relationship with others and in community. And just back to the Liberty Freedom Villages, where the village is the motivator, is the force behind the movement of the houses and the knowledge that you need for growing your own food and the water supply in the system, because maintenance is going to be necessary, and educating people on how to create that Noah's Ark in the flood of terrorism. Hey, that's a pretty good statement. We'll be protecting ourselves through that interdependence or independence community. Now, and I think veterans are the, as Noah said, the one group of people who probably would be open to going forward and creating their own community. So be it. Just do it.
Well, that's we are doing that, and you know, as I mentioned in the article, last year we donated $1 billion to political campaigns, 700,000 to 700 million to Republicans, 300 million to Democrats, and where did that money go? It went to the media companies so they could advertise and tell you who. Yeah, here your choice is Songbird McCain or Barack Hussein Obama, who ain't even qualified to be president. If we had the rules here that we're supposed to have, he wouldn't even be qualified to be for president. He don't have an American father. And has nothing to do with his color, has nothing to do with his race. Is he a loyal American, or is he a Muslim or Soviet implant on us?
Yeah.
But $1 billion.
That's hard to say. I don't have any proof either way. But
Sheriff Joe does. Sheriff Joe does. So.
What I'm the expert in is the food and the money issue. And, if you wanted to get to that JUBILEE Act today or not, which is a whole other subject. Well, it's in the same vein, but it's a whole other aspect where I in Massachusetts here, I have a petition in front of the legislation to declare a 10-year moratorium on mortgages. That would create enough time for the legislation and the people to create the new way of life for homes that are already built here in Massachusetts, so that the money system can be changed from a debt-based monetary system to an issued money system without the stock market failing and without the mortgage-backed security pension plans failing, where the money would be equalized so that the individuals who are siphoning it off stop siphoning it off. And that's where I came into your show when I was trying to explain that the trillions of dollars that are sucked out of the system in the last 100 years are offshore. And it's already factual. I gave you that report, that July 2012 report of the Texas Justice Network. The $30 trillion that we work for that the mortgages paid for on a day-to-day, that the homeowners that thought they were borrowers paid for was uh, was siphoned off. The people were scammed into believing that they took a loan out, that the banks loaned them money, when in fact they were the money with their signature. They were the new money that was put into the system. So in other words, you create the new money, and then you get to pay it back with interest because it's stolen from you.
Yeah.
The banksters have created the greatest scam on the planet, and you'll have to admire them for doing this. I mean, it's such a scam. It's unfathomable, and I don't think anybody on your show listening can gather it because it took me 7 years to get it myself. How did all the money come into the system over time? And it came from the work and the labor and the credit of the people. It is our money, $30 trillion, that's been siphoned off to the Cayman Islands, and I would love to have everyone demand it back.
Well, all of these banks that are part owners in the Federal Reserve, they're complicit in here, and they're funding the drug cartels. The drug cartels are bringing the drug. The CIA and Mossad bring most of the drugs in here. I mean, our troops are guarding the heroin being produced. They're guarding the opium poppy crops in Afghanistan. In my book, Mystery Babylon, I documented the whole George Bush as CIA director drug smuggling scam. Operation Watchtower. They flew the they used the special forces to build the radio towers in Colombia to guide the planes into Albrook Air Force Base, and where George Bush's partner Manuel Noriega, his brother, and Del Cid, and the head of Israeli Mossad now, Michael Harari, met the planes, exchanged the cash, put the drugs on on an airplane flown by Barry Seal into an airport that was protected by the governor. That would be Governor Bill Clinton, and the airport was Mena, Arkansas. Come on, guys. You know what? And they want to put you in jail because you bought a little cocaine? Wait a minute. Come on. If a man with a badge can walk up and say, "What's that in your pocket? Is that cocaine? Is that marijuana?" Whoa, you're going to go to jail and work for IBM for 25 cents an hour. You live in a police state. You live in a police state.
You do. We just from our sense of insecurity. You know, each Indian that lived on the plains here before the white man came was a complete and whole individual who could have been the chief of the village, but he had just allowed the group leader to be the group leader because he or she knew exactly what the village was doing or not doing. They had a consensus through the unwritten law of nature that everybody's helping each other in their gifting money. They're gifting gifts to each other. If you just had a failure of some sort, people would gift you the food, clothing, shelter you would need, and not be money, as John was trying to point out yesterday. The indigenous societies gifted things, and the white man came along with some kind of screwed up psychology and thought it was money. And of course, money, how money was created in the past could be a convoluted issue. But the money that we're using today is improper use of that tool. It has to change. It will change as people become educated on the understanding of money as just being a robust accounting system.
Now, I know let me give you a little bit. Let me inject a little bit of history here. For almost 100 years in this country, you could grow hemp and use it to pay taxes with. It was as good as cash. And this is before the Federal Reserve got in and caused it to be made illegal here so they could grow it in Russia and China Canada, Mexico, anywhere else but here. They didn't want us to have that resource. And it
But the
wasn't about
resource also
smoking
is
it.
the land. Hey, the land ownership is the key factor that the Federal Reserve now is doing in the last 20 years by trying to own everything because they want to own the land. They want to own every piece of square inch in the United States. Now that's because ownership of the land creates the value, creates the necessary a miracle of life that's called agriculture, whether you're growing corn or hemp or rice or sweet potatoes. And that is what people need is that food. The food is the primary necessity, number one, that nothing else happens without. I mean, you could sun, water, and all that stuff that exists, but the food that you have to eat more or less every day, and that doesn't include the fasting, tripping, etc. But the food is vital, number one, and most of us forgot that. I forgot that for myself for 30, 35 years. And growing up, I never paid any attention to food. If there was, my mother put the food in front of me, I ate it. I was a seafood eater for 30, 35 years. I got seafood and I eat it. That's all I was. I was just an animal that was sucking down food. And until I studied food and how valuable or invaluable it is to my life, I tested various theories and went through various programs and disciplines, made mistakes and was very successful in creating my own quote-unquote diet. And that is just me. I am the total manifestation of the food I have eaten in the past. And that includes TV, radio, and Clay Douglas's Blog Talk Radio. Everything that I've had in the past is food. And how I assimilated that is through a process of education and learning that is invaluable to anyone on this planet that I believe has to see in order to digest the immense complex system out there of money or anything else and decipher it down to its simplest form. And the simplest thing that I came up with for money was usury. Interest on borrowed money is a root problem, along with the understanding. But it's still the land ownership that the Federal Reserve is trying to get, and we have can only pay taxes or create the value when we own our own property, and that's the Noah's Ark idea, that you're going to own this beautiful mechanism, this food, clothing, shelter vehicle, which is your house and your food and your electricity and all the stuff that you need, and contained in a nice unit in the community. And that's your own sovereign place. You become a sovereign individual in a sovereign place. And the banksters hate that. That is what they fight against in various countries: Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Libya. All those things. All those people with Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi. We're all trying to get their nations and individuals sovereign. Banksters do not like sovereign individuals.
They
They
don't,
do not
and
like sovereign nations.
that's why they were after the Indians. I mean, there was genocide. Genocide was what happened to the American Indians, and that's kind of why one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons that I what? That's what.
I was going to interject, but I was thinking you'd be breaking up a little bit. But go ahead.
Okay, one of the reasons that I designed my Liberty Villages using these teepees and yurts, and is because I think we almost followed the wrong lifestyle by bringing these inefficient box homes into a neighborhood and planting these box homes all over what used to be a family farm. As a matter of fact, I've got on my website on libertyvillages.org. I put this in about Indian Chief Two Eagles, was asked by a high-ranking government official, "You've observed the white man for 90 years. You've seen his wars and his technological advances. You've seen his progress and the damage he's done." Chief nodded in agreement. The official continued, "Considering all these events, in your opinion, where did the white man go wrong?" The two eagles said, "When white men find our land, Indians running it. No taxes, no debt, plenty buffalo, plenty beaver, clean water. Women did all the work, medicine man free. Indian men spend all day hunting and fishing and all night having sex." Then the chief leaned back and smiled. "Only the white man is dumb enough to think he could improve on a system like that."
And one of the things that we did was, in the beginning, 100 years ago, we brought in this electricity where you had to pay a fee every month, and farmers paying fees every month became a disaster. And then, of course, we like electricity, we like energy, but the convenience of it was so detrimental to the farmer psyche that some of them really didn't go for it. I mean, they must have lived generations without electricity, and all of a sudden they had to pay something every month. Farmers don't like paying for anything. These are independent farmers who created our Constitution. Those people at that time, farmers, were living in a whole way, wholeness, in contact with nature. Their feet were on the ground. They were stable. They were secure. They were sovereign because they owned the land. And they paid to no one. They paid nothing. They paid no interest to no one. Like Benjamin Franklin in the quote that John said yesterday, "We pay interest to no one." And that's really what the money. The people are so clever, they know humans like convenience, and they started with electricity and went up to the iPad today. I mean, that whole 100-year convenience thing is what we're experiencing that is detrimental, and we will find that out, because I found it out, and I know others will find it out too, that it's not a priority. It should be a secondary toy or a plaything, not something that really is counted on all the time, because the electricity could be plugged anytime. I lived in Alaska. I know how to live without electricity, and so do a lot of veterans up there, and so do a lot of veterans in Florida and veterans throughout the country who are independent thinking and realizing good food and good water come from finding it yourself, not from a tap or a factory. We have to go back to that same mentality that the food can be gained off the land, and if we're honest about it, then the farmers will be giving good quality food to people based on biological needs rather than financial needs. So if you own your own land without interest, without a mortgage, and it's free like the Indians had it, you're going to be helpful to your neighbor. You're not going to be in competition, because the competition only is created by a money system where money is borrowed. And the elite love it. I mean, they there's a game out there that they love to do. They love to trick the quote-unquote assholes out there, or the dummies, and I was one of them. They must get their rocks off doing that. I mean, I can't see anything else. Why are they doing it? Because they think it's a game themselves, and they're using us as pawns. And it's got to be a game that's very detrimental, especially in the last 10, 20 years. These constant wars and destruction and pollution and that's going on, and it has to change, Clay. It just will change. I know.
We have
that's the confidence
plan.
I have.
We have the plan right now to change that. And if you set up these homes so they're self-sufficient, so you can turn out, you still got the convenience. You can turn the light switch on, but the power comes from the solar, comes from the batteries, comes from the magnetic generator. Then we got the ability to build. We've got the technology now.
Yeah. Well, we all just have to inspire and educate and motivate and encourage these people to go, these veterans to go forward with that. And I think the veteran also has to have the curiosity to do it. So if we have the project, that's saying that we build the field and they will come. So let's start building these things. We got the IPO, I imagine, in place. I don't know exactly, but if the IPO is in place, let's just get a few 10 veterans, 100 veterans down there and start building, and they'll be happy getting money from the IPO or U.S. Federal Reserve notes or whatever. If we issue the money, which would be the ideal way, then the project will start. I think Noah's on the right track. He's done his homework. He's got these projects laid out. He's an engineer. He's a well-known builder. He has the prototypes out there. The veterans just need to know about it. Your letter to the veterans today, with your buddy there, and that's the start. I encourage you to do it. I'm glad I was able to make some donation to give you the time or the means to do it. Let's just go forward.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. I appreciate the donation, folks. I can still use more. I mean, this pulled me through for the last 2 weeks, and this article that I shared with you here is it's still ongoing, and let's talk about this Green Fire Super Global Super Home. It's designed to be and what's important here, the whole Liberty Village concept that I came up with was a way to generate income on little 5 acres, and I figured if I could do it on this 5 acres, I could do it on any farm anywhere else in the country, whether it's 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres, or 100 acres. And I wanted to use the teepees because didn't it require a lot of money investment in structures, because the teepees you can buy them for $5,000. That'll house a family. It'll house 5 veterans, and I wanted to get your input on that too. Now I figured if you're driving down the street and you see a yurt and it's surrounded by 10 teepees, and there's you got a neon sign out there that says, we got hemp coffee here, organic eggs, and we got learn how to be self-sufficient here, and you got a vacancy sign. Would you rather pull in and spend the night at a Motel 6 or an authentic looking Indian village with 21st century technology? And
for me, I would jump in on it right away, but I'm thinking that those others, the 99% others, would just happen to go by because they can't get involved. They're on their vacation. They're going to enjoy their vacation, and they're going to get back to work next week.
Now they still got to stop at Cracker Barrel. They still
have to make these mortgage payments and our health care payments, when in fact we don't. The debt that we created is our money. See, once we get to that point, and that took me a while to get, once we get to the point where we understand it's our money out there, Clay, we don't need to pay them back.
No, we don't.
You see how the issue with money is versus the debt money? It is our money that's going to
I agree with that, but
it's our money that we created when we thought we had to buy, when we needed something, whether it's a chair or electricity or food. We bought it with our money. We are, from our Constitution, from our God-given rights, inalienable rights that we've given up.
Okay,
we voluntarily gave these rights.
All right, David. Now here you got a problem here. I got a little problem with that. Hold on. I got a little problem with that.
Okay.
This is great in speculation. This is great about what we talk about. I'm talking about practicality here. What Noah has got here is practical. It's practical. If you it may cost a little bit more than a little 2,000 square foot home in a good neighborhood. Might cost a little bit more, but it'll last you and your family for generations. And we've got to take the first step. We got to take the first step to educating people. The Liberty Village concept that I've come up with, and that Noah agrees, this is what we use to build these super homes. While we're building them, stop in here, sleep in that motel over there, sleep in that cabin, sleep in that teepee, sleep in that yurt. Up in Red River, New Mexico, that's a ski resort. They got a yurt there, and you can bring your RV and park your RV there, or you can sleep in a yurt. You can sleep in a motel. What we got to do is show people here's an alternative to Holiday Inn. Here's an alternative, and it's based on first of all, our electricity is being generated by that solar unit surrounded on the top of the teepee. The water is being caught here, and there's a reservoir here, and so you're getting pure water, no fluoride in this. We can educate them. Everything that Noah's talking about doing, we can do on a lesser scale using these teepees and using these structures to build and educate and raise money. Now, Karen talked about this. Well, you got to have the financing in place. What I'm talking about doing is financing this ourselves. And we got to finance it. We got to finance this and build this. We got to finance this and build this before we can eliminate this whole Federal Reserve scam. We got to educate, and we've got to have our alternatives in place. I agree with her on that.
Right. Clay, let me emphasize that the funding is in place when the individuals consent to issuing the money. Now that's the key factor. You don't need to raise money. Like if somebody comes by your teepees and yurts, you're going to give them quote unquote free rent and room and board versus going to the hotel and paying money. The concept of making money is not the necessary factor. The concept of creating a home that's independent of the monetary system is the factor. And when you see that, the finance is already in place by the consensus of the group. Does that make sense?
No, it does not. It does not make sense to me.
Okay, I know.
No, sir.
Okay, good.
It does not make sense
We
to
have
me.
to work on
it
that.
is not the way it works. We've got to work right there. If I want to go talk to a group about this, I have to have money for gas. Without that money that you made a donation for, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. I wouldn't have been able to do this show today. I wouldn't have been able to do anything. So the money...
Correct.
The money has to be raised some way.
But then if that money was issued, and it is, but from the government, it's still the government still borrows that money. The borrowing and the issuing is a huge concept to understand. In a certain sense, the Federal Reserve is issuing money, but they're demanding repayment from the government and the people to pay it back. That's the insanity. Money should be created for all the goods and services to make the exchange easy. That's all. It's a tool, not a slave. We're not a slave. We are currently, in the last 100 years, the last thousands of years, a slave to money. Money needs to be issued just as I said the other day, an apple grows on a tree, or fruit grows on a tree, or water runs in a river, or a plant grows in a springtime and harvested in the fall. It's issued by God or nature, and we just use money as a tool to facilitate the exchange. It's like it's ass backwards the way we have it now, debt-based monetary system, where we borrow this tool and we pay interest on it. The use of money is insanity. That's why there's suicides. That's why there's poverty. That's why there's corruption. That's why there's wars. That's why there's competition, which it could be good or bad. But that's why we have the plutocracy today, because we think money is valuable. We think it's valuable. It stores value, but it can be issued without the detrimental aspect of having to be paid back. You pay it back when you can.
In an ideal society, David. In an ideal...
Let me finish with this.
Okay,
it's like borrowing a book at a library. You go to the library, the book is there. Someone already made it. It's donated. It's written. You borrow it, and you bring it back. You don't bring a book back in 6 chapters of another book, you see? You can't do it. It's impossible. The money system that we're in is impossible to have a quality society. Society has to have an issued monetary system so that all the services and goods that people make, goods and services, can be exchanged between people. Am I getting myself clearer or muddier?
I would say muddier, because Noah can't build these homes. Noah can't build these homes without buying the concrete. You can't build this. You can't build this without the tools that you need to build it with. You can't. You're putting that. What you're talking about is idealistic, accurate. It's idealistic. It's what we all want. We want to eliminate the Federal Reserve. We want to eliminate their control of the money. But we can't do that. We can't put the cart before the horse. We got to use their money and their system to change this.
Correct. I mean, we're both correct, and I know I muddy the waters. But if the money was out there, Noah would be able to get the concrete and the materials to build homes, because the money is there. But the money could have been issued for the last 100 years, but it's borrowed money. The money has a vibration or any that's called an IOU. It still has its debt-based energy in your pocket, or whenever you use it. Even when I give you the money, it's still an IOU-based money system. It's the system which is not. You're in a. It's like trying to figure out where does day and night come into effect in a 24-hour period. There's, day always is changing into night, and night is always changing into day. And I know that makes it a little complicated, but the money system, the whole system, the front and back of it, is totally operating in what I would call an evil way, because it's detrimental to the destruction has to happen. Consumers have to consume more, and that's detrimental to the psyche and the planet Earth. So it's changing into an issue-based or interest-free system. And that takes time. Lots of time. So Noah's project will have to have this you'll have to have the IPO and the money that's generated through bonds, and then the money will be there for building it. But as the project goes on, it can change that the veterans get paid in an interest-based money system, just as that $5 bill that's in your pocket from working in the 1963 U.S. note. It's not a debt-based system. It's not a debt-based $5 bill. It's an issued $5 bill.
That's right, and I won't.
That's more valuable because it's a collector's item. But if it was just a $5 bill today, we wouldn't have the problems in pollution and the corruption that we have, because the individual will have the integrity of putting people before money. Does that make sense? Our campaigns are based on the individual having to please the donors of the campaign, and the donors of the campaign are the corporations who want better laws or less regulations or whatever they want for their benefit of making money. Because then they can control whoever's going to be in legislation through money. So the legislators have to appease the money makers. Now the money makers are quote unquote against the people because they're looking at the people as slaves, and they're not seeing them as people. They're seeing them as numbers and digits and money makers or credit. They don't see them as individuals. So when the legislators don't have that money issue problem, and they get elected based on their integrity, honesty, and helping the people, then that society will change. In my strongest opinion, that we have to change the monetary system, and the way to do it is to throw this whole interest-free, honest system out at you. It's going to be confusing at first, and it was for me, and it's for most everybody, because we're still hooked on and completely attached to money. Got to make money. Got to do another project. We're going to make more money, and that is within us. It's within me, and for 55 years of my life, the last 10. I'm more or less trying to, I don't give it away all the time, but I'm more on the giving side, gifting money rather than trying to make money. So it's just me, it's either my age or my maturity or my new way of belief system that giving the money away is really the aspect, because it is our gifting to people that makes us in debt to people, but we don't have to have it paid back. The gift does not have to be paid back. You don't owe me anything. I don't owe you anything, but we are going to be helping each other because we realize this is a good project to get behind.
That we agree on. That we agree on.
Yeah.
And
so that's
in
any questions I can answer about the money into the future in an idealistic way, it's okay. I mean, it's still into the future.
Yeah, I've got one question. Can you send another donation? I really need it.
No, I'm not going to send another one for a while. I can only, I don't have that much to donate. But I thought you have a truck by now. You're gonna have to find another person who wants to donate, and I can.
Well, I hope they're not listening to you, and not because they got to be in the system. They got to send FRNs. They got to send Federal Reserve notes, because what I write science fiction, and I wrote about a society in the future when all laws against victimless crimes have been abolished, when hemp and is grown all over the country, when you can, if you live in Colorado, you can plant coca trees, and if you live in Seattle, you can go out and harvest all your poppies. It's science fiction. It's science fiction. It's the way things should be. It's the way I'd like to see things be. And I agree with everything you said. We need to eliminate the Federal Reserve. We need to set up another system around it. And we need to provide the financing for those villages, because these veterans got to eat. And right now, it takes Federal Reserve notes to buy the food, whether you're getting it from McDonald's or whether you're getting it from your farmer. And that's the way we should be doing it. I've got plans for that. The whole in Oklahoma, right next to Texas, and I got nothing against people from Oklahoma. As long as they don't refer to Texas as Baja, Oklahoma, then we don't have to fight. They've got the food co-op there. And so what they're doing, the people in the city are starting to buy their food direct from the farmers, the organic farmers. The organic farmers are members of this co-op. So this is people working together, providing the service, growing organic food, and you're cutting Monsanto out of the mix. you're really cutting the banks out of the mix.
Mm-hmm.
But the Federal Reserve notes are what we got to use right at the moment to change things. And that's it.
Yeah, I agree, and using the Federal Reserve notes without the knowledge of its corruptedness, then we're going to still use that because it's a convenience, and that's what it's all about, Clay. The convenience foods and the processed foods that we've been eating causes our biological corruption, creating a psychological corruption where we think we're doing the right thing, when in fact we are not. And science fiction that you write is good to have. My idealism is good to have because it makes for a better process on how to go forward. If you're totally convinced of the comfort zone that you're in, you are going to die. You're going to lay on the couch and die. Why would I get up off the couch every morning? Because I'm fine. Everything's fine. Until you have an issue or a problem or want to make a world a little better, which is just a naturalness on my part. Actually, before some time ago, I was ready to die myself, but I got a more inspiration because, hey, I found a problem that I can sink my teeth into, you might say. So I think we all have to see a problem and accept that problem and say, I can't do anything about it, or I like to change that a little bit. And that's what the whole experiment in human nature has been. Somebody saying, I don't like that. I want to change it. And that's what Noah's doing. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. And it will change to a better world for us. Maybe not for us. Maybe it's our next generation or a generation after comes this ideal world where everybody is living in a Noah-type environment. And I can see that happening in 100 years, 50 years, 10 years down the road. It's going to be there. In fact, it's already existing in the world today. We just don't know about these communities who are on an interest-free monetary system. They're living their lives. There's Germany, there's Ireland, there's a lot of the BRIC countries more or less somehow had that. Argentina, parts of Japan had interest-free for a while. China had some interest-free monetary systems, and they have been in the United States. They've been around. They just with this money-making psyche that's called what this guy calls the 12th and final religion. When we have money as a religion, we think we have to bow down before it as a god. This is craziness to me, and it may not be to you, and it may be the change that's necessary in the 300 million Americans, because my idealism is probably so far out there, nobody wants to hear it. And along with John, two of us who are trying to create a credit system where the issuance of money is through the consensus of the group, whether that group of people or 40 or 10,000. The issuing of anything, whether it be a scrap of paper or a piece of rubber, is the money, and that's the consensus that we need to agree on. Right now, we're agreeing on being criminals in a usurious monetary system, and I'm to blame for that myself. So we need to get off our convenience of the car, the gasoline, the processed foods aspect, and get back to real nature beings who are creatures of heaven and earth, and love the planet and love others as I believe we're designed to do.
Even as we speak, I'm eating venison in my goulash here. So
you broke up. I didn't understand.
I said, even as we speak, and I'm filming for YouTube right now. This whole conversation,
Uh-huh.
I am.
Okay.
I'm filming me eating my venison laced goulash. So
Go. Okay.
that's
You know,
my
well,
concept of healthy eating. I don't know where the noodles came from, but I'll chance it.
yeah, that's it. See, that's how we eat. We don't know where our food comes from. Generally speaking, we most of us have no clue when we go to the supermarket or go to restaurants where our food is coming from. And I will speak for myself on that because I didn't know myself for the first 30, 35 years. No clue. Where is my food coming from? And then it took me 30 years to figure that out. Now in the last 7 years, where is my money coming from? How did all this work that I did to pay all these bills, how was it created? Well, I just assumed that, oh, I went to work and got money and I got paid these bills. That's all I knew about money. Okay, and just previous to that, the only thing I knew about food was that it was in front of me. I put it in my mouth and I was able to run. That's all I knew. Now, going down the rabbit hole of food and going down the rabbit hole of money were two most exciting adventures in my life. Okay, besides going down the sexual route, but we could talk the three major things. So not even knowing what sex was when I was a kid, the baby, I didn't know anything about sex, and then I didn't know anything about food, and I didn't know anything about money. Now I think I'm an expert on them, but I'm not. I'm just as ignorant as anybody else on the sex, food, and money issue, but I had fun discovering what I came to believe. and I think I would encourage anybody to go down the rabbit hole of sex, money, and food, and really know what it is. Really know who you are as a human being. How long can you live without food? How long can you live without money? How long can you live without sex? And that is challenging for most of us to just even think about it. Never mind try it. But I'm glad I went the route I did in my life. I wouldn't change a day in my life, you might say.
That's interesting because I look back on all of my adventures, all of my travels, all the things that I've done, all of the hassles I've had, and I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. I think I've done everything I was supposed to, learned everything I was supposed to,
Beautiful.
and I'm still learning. I'm still learning, and
and same here. I mean, constantly learning every day, learning from you, learning from the internet, learning from the newspaper. I used to believe everything I read was the truth. Now I look at everything I read as a lie. Everything. First of all, I said, could this be true or could this be a lie? And I have to use my gut feeling and my gutness about going forward with believing it, because it has to resonate with me on an energetic level that says, yeah, this is right, or they might say this is wrong. And I've learned that through successes and failures that are totally beneficial to the human experience. Without failures, you can't succeed, in my book, and that's. I think that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know that for anybody else at this time, and each individual will experience life with their own challenges and with their own belief system and with their own knowledge that they get from successes and failures, and I believe everybody should have that opportunity to enjoy life and not be fooled and deceived by these banksters who are creating a debt-based monetary system that really fools us, or these food manufacturers who are issuing money or who are issuing food to our detriment. What for the making of money, for the making of more money?
What you mean?
It is so asinine.
You mean you don't like?
You need money as a tool, but it can be. Everything has its front and back,
I don't understand. You mean you don't want the bug killer built into your food? You don't want the pesticides
No, I don't want the bug killer
included in your food?
picked into my food.
Well,
No.
you want healthy bugs?
No,
Come
I
on.
don't.
Yeah.
All bugs are healthy. They thrive on the planet because they are stronger than we are. The bugs have been around for 3.2 billion years, the virus and the germs, and we've been only around for a couple of million. We are just homes for bugs. And we have to stay alive, control the bugs and the viruses through our immune system. We need to fight them off. Our bodies fight them off on a continual basis when we call immune competence. We have, like AIDS stands for acquired immune deficiency syndrome. It means you acquire the immune deficiency. Well, the real way to go is NICE, N-I-C-E, where you create a natural immunocompetent eating. It's like when you are not able to go to court because you have to hire a lawyer. You're incompetent. You have to hire a lawyer. You have to go to a doctor because you're incompetent about your own health. That's how we've learned to grow up. We learned that we are stupid, ignorant, and assholes. We're taught that. And that's my opinion.
I think you're right.
To be competent.
Doctors don't make any money if you're healthy. They want you sick. They want to give you these vaccines to make you sick. My mother and grandmother were drug addicts, and I had no idea, man. I was 6 years old. I'd go with them to the doctor, sit in the doctor's office. Well, they'd come back out, and the next stop we'd go by the drugstore so my grandmother could get her sleeping pills, so my mother could get her pain pills.
Yeah.
And I had no. I thought Grandma was just.
We brought up on these drugs.
I thought my grandmother was just feeble until I took one of her little red sleeping pills.
Which pill you want, the red pill or the blue pill? Matrix is a good movie on that.
Granny,
that's exactly right. I mean, we're trained to believe that drugs from the doctors are our savior. When we are our own savior, we have to realize that, or we die. We have to realize our immune system is what's keeping us alive and well through the quagmires of germs, virus, bacteria that are bombarding us all the time. And we all have good constitutions, most of us. Our parents had some good constitution, otherwise we wouldn't be here, because the sperm and egg got together and they were just creating you as a human being. Now we need to go forward and create a better society on a day-to-day basis as best we can. We're going to slip and fall, and everybody I know, including myself, it's a 2-step forward and 1 step back. 2 step forward and 1 step back. It's the way of life to me.
I lost my wife after this.
Saying where the same thinking will keep you in a problematic way. Einstein said that. You can't keep using the same thought process if you want to go forward to change the world. You got to start thinking a little differently.
I lost my wife.
We're coming to the end of the show, Clay. What can we end off with here? What does the world need to know? The world's strongest home or the world's strongest body?
Well, it's interesting. I lost my wife after my accident because she thought the doctor saved my life. I said they didn't save my life.
Yeah.
They tried to kill me. They tried to kill me, and she just didn't believe that. She didn't believe that. But it was true. I mean, why would anybody give you, with 3 broken ribs, why would anybody feed you $750,000 worth of drugs over 3 months? Now, let me.
Let's true. So that's.
Beg your pardon.
You made it true. That's the process, really. That you learned that you made it true. And you came what we call, and this too will pass. We've come through the other side.
Yeah, I said, I refuse to take any more medication. I said all I need is a joint and a Harley, and then get out of my way, leave me alone. Now, we've talked about, let's finish this up. with his super fire homes. Now, we may live in
Go ahead.
teepees while we're building them, but
Yeah.
we're talking about two types of home here. They're designed to be totally self-sustainable with complete off-grid, independent, alternate energy, rooftop organic gardens, rainwater harvesting, ultra energy efficient, natural dynamic air revitalizing, 100% hurricane warranty, and a host of green features. These super homes are designed to specifically to survive the most extreme catastrophic Category 5 hurricanes, as well as a tsunami force storm surge as high as 20 feet or more. If you're living on the coast, this is your choice of homes. And these homes are ultra energy efficient, concrete construction, natural dynamic air revitalization, solar lighting, and other energy-free and sustainable technologies that have reduced the amount of electricity a green fire home needs to a very low level. And they've got Noah has about 130 patents on these things. He's been building this kind of home for 30 years. And these homes will have a system with enough reserve electric generating power to fully charge an electric hybrid car every day and can eliminate gasoline bills forever. Transportation technology is rapidly advancing. Already one car can go 230 miles charged every day totally from our independent alternate energy system, as well as do 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. He says, we believe the electric hybrid car running on biodiesel is the transportation future, and we've designed the Green Fire Global Home to embrace this technology. And it's also got the rooftop organic gardens, rainwater harvesting, and solar light pumps. But it has such a low environmental impact that the wildlife may not even know we're there. Now, for years, FEMA has warned that the wooden frame homes that compose virtually 100% of American housing would not survive the forces of even a moderate Category 3, and that the storm surge from any strength would completely destroy such homes. These warnings went unheeded. We had Katrina. Now the next hurricane season's coming up, and the hurricanes are getting stronger. The typhoons are getting stronger. Folks, we can be independent. We can take care of our own, and we can use the veterans. We probably got homeless vets out there, a lot of homeless vets out there. We can use them. We can give them a place to stay. We can give them the homes, and they can build this for us. Free men building a free society for free people. This is my goal.
Let's spend the next. Yeah.
You got 1 minute. Go ahead, sir.
Let's spend some time, not this minute, but let's spend some time this winter strategizing what we can do as individuals, and then see if we can do something as a group to help Noah round up veterans, or just let veterans know, I know you're doing what you're doing. That's great. I'm going to see if I can get to the veterans meetings here and in my local town to see if anybody's interested in that, and just do the best we can to notify people. Just give them the offer. You can bring a horse to water. You can't make them drink. So let's have fun, enjoy, and be well, and see you next month. See you next time. Call anytime.
All right, sir.
Let me know when you want me on the show
will.
again, and continue on, sir.
I certainly will. Thank you. I sure appreciate
All right, take care.
you being with me. Thank you, David. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, bye. David.